Hey guys, and welcome back to the Money Game with AC. In this channel, we talk about stocks, but we also talk about money, how to make it, how to grow it, and how to protect it. President Biden today unveils his $2.2 trillion infrastructure plan, and we're going to go over the details of this plan and how you can potentially benefit from this as you will get spread over the next 8 to 10 years and buy some stocks now that will either double, triple, or even quadruple your money as it gets realized. All right, without any further ado, let's get into it, guys. First of all, the details around this huge plan of $2 trillion, which was one of the main goals of President Biden around, the infrastructure and also getting more exposed towards cleaner energy. So the highlights of this plan is, first of all, $621 billion into transportation, such as roads, bridges, public transit, ports, airports, and electric vehicle development. Now, around the EV development, I think we have a target of 500,000 EV charging stations around the nation. A direct $400 billion to care for elderly and disabled Americans, and then $300 billion to improving the drinking water infrastructure, expanding the broadband access, and upgrading electric grids. $300 billion into building and retrofitting affordable housing, along with constructing and upgrading schools. And finally, almost $600 billion into American manufacturing, research and development, and job training efforts. So this bill is really huge. Not only it is really ambitious in terms of the amount of money, at stakes right here, but it's also really ambitious from President Biden on the political front, because this is his plan and it's not being signed into law yet. So it needs to go to the Senate, it needs to be approved by Congress, and both of them need to really get together and agree on how this will be agreed. They have to come to an agreement. So the whole discussions we've seen, for example, with the whole COVID package, including the third stimulus, it took months sometimes for them to really come to an agreement. But since this plan, it's to be spread over 8 to 10 years, and everybody will agree that the US infrastructure are starting to get outdated. Most of them are from the 1950s. So it's 50, 60, 70 years, 80 years old. And definitely in some states, the roads are just as bad and they need to be either rebuilt or build new roads, as we have, demographics that will increase with the years. But President Biden is really betting on this, clean energy thing. And I think some of the stock I'm going to share with you guys in a minute are really best positions into getting a decent amount of returns. I'm talking about doubling your money, tripling your money, even more than that. So the first one I have on my list, guys, is the ETF, the Global ex-US Infrastructure Development ETF. This is one of the best ETFs in terms of holdings and in terms of exposure it will give you to the infrastructure development of the US only. It has about 100 holdings, but if you look at the returns, the returns year over year, last year 110%. This is huge, guys. This is huge. And right now, given the price, man, it's something that may be considered a steal if you want to position ourselves into the next 5 or even 10 years. Now, getting into the details around this ETF, it is an ETF that offers access to a range of companies involved into multi-facets of infrastructure development, talking about constructions, talking about equipment, talking about technology, and they give you a targeted thematic play on the future of the US infrastructure, and also give you the efficiency of an ETF, but a broad basket of the US equities involved in infrastructure projects. Okay, so definitely something to consider. And on net assets, they have more than $2 billion on their, $2.2 billion as of now. So getting into the details around the holdings, but on the sector breakdown, industrials, materials, information technology, utilities, and to a later extent the financials and the consumer discretionary. So just to name some of the few names they have on the as holdings. The biggest one being Deere, and then followed by Parker, Eaton, Norfolk, Emerson. We also have companies like Kansas City Southern, CSX, United Rentals, definitely one of the companies to consider here. IDEX Corp, Quanta Services, Westlake Chemical, Hobo, Reliance Steel, Builders FirstSource, Carlisle, Cost, Mastech, Alcoa, United States Steel Corp, definitely something. Eagle Materials, Wesco, RBC Earnings, Crane.co, Aegon. Now, what else? What else do we have? Columbus McKinnon, Aztec, Titan, Insteel Industries, Northwest, Team Inc., Construction PA, just to name those few, but definitely big names involved into the infrastructure and the construction sector. So the global infrastructure, I mean, this ETF will really give you the broader exposure in terms of whatever it comes, whatever companies may be involved into construction or infrastructure within the US. Okay, now, if you don't want to, I mean, on top of this ETF, you want to really get involved into the best rating stocks that I'm about to share with you. These are really, a few pick, but this is a pick from companies that are getting the best ratings from the market as a whole. All right. So the first one here, guys, Team Inc. So Team Inc. is involved into engineering. So they involve in engineering and construction. And right now they are trading at $11 and $53. If you look at the 1 year return, it is 88%, which is really decent, so this is something definitely a stock you want to consider because it's also part of the PAVE ETF. Next to that, Columbus McKinnon Corp. So Columbus McKinnon, they build cranes, and I think I'm not really sure, but also if they also rent cranes, but cranes definitely something you will consider because they're a biggest component of construction. It doesn't matter whether it's buildings, schools, obviously, bridges, roads, etc., etc. The next one, if you look at the 1 year return, 146%. This is amazing. This is really amazing. $52 right now. I definitely see this. If you look at the 5 year chart, they are on the run. And with this whole plan, if it does pass, man, it will be just potentially doubling easily. Yeah, the 5 year chart to 34%. So in 5 years, it may be 400%. You don't know. The next one, it's Herc Holdings. Herc Holdings, they are involved into renting construction equipment. So 1 year return, 434%. 434%. This is 4 times, the capital you put if you were to put your money back a year ago. This is crazy, from $18 to $100. Wow. Yeah, so definitely a ticker to consider. The next one is Mineral Technologies, also part of the PAV ETF holdings. Year over year gain 130%. Man, 130%. Man, that's crazy. I mean, those returns are just decent, more than decent. They are crazy. Mineral Technologies involved into materials, so definitely if you want to get exposed to that piece. And then Nov Inc. Nov Inc. is involved into building equipment that the oil and gas industry will use. Think about it, guys. Even though a big part of the infrastructure plan is to get clean energy, but all the machines, all the equipment, they run with gas. They don't run with, they're not electrical machines. I mean, some of them are electrical machines, but a lot of those, the Caterpillar, the cranes, they need oil and gas. So the oil and gas sector will also benefit definitely from this. So Nov Inc. is not only exposed from that perspective, but they also build equipment that will be used when it comes to those, building bridges and all of this stuff. So definitely something to consider. And along this side, we have the energy sector Spider Fund. This ETF is definitely one to consider because, as I mentioned earlier, it gives you exposure on the oil and gas sector. And all of these work, even though, again, as I mentioned earlier, President Biden wants to go electric or more electric, definitely those big works, around the infrastructure plan will definitely run machines that still use gas, that still use oil, and you want to be exposed to that because the demand will be just insane around oil at the moment. All right, guys, these are the stocks that I had picked for now that I think are the most beneficial in terms of this infrastructure plan from President Biden. But you have to keep in mind that this is still a plan for now. It still has to go through Senate and Congress. They still have both to come to an agreement and sign it into a law before everything starts to get real. So right now, I'm putting them into my watch list. I already have some in my portfolio, such as the North Inc. Ticker, but as soon as things start to get real, man, I'm definitely getting some, or I may get into, but not going all in, just to get exposed and see how it goes for the first quarter. The next quarter, depending on how the discussions will go in Washington with this. But definitely, guys, I think these are something we need to keep in mind if you want to benefit from this huge investment that are coming in the US. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any of these stocks in your watch list or your portfolio as of now, and what you think about this huge thing getting an agreement in Washington on the political side. Thank you for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.